Hello everyone, and welcome to After Alexander. Episode 68. Wait, what do you mean this is a review episode? How can this possibly be a review? The kids only lasted 6 seconds. Even by stretching it, we've only had 3 episodes so far. How is that? You know what? Fine. Hello everyone, and welcome to After Alexander. Episode 68. Seleucus III, the Ephemeral. Here we are again. It's not been that long since we were sat around the review episode campfire the last time. In fact, it's only been 3 full episodes since we closed the book on Seleucus II in episode 64. Well, 4 if you count this one. If it's any consolation, I doubt Seleucus III intended to be here so soon either. He probably expected to live a glorious life of several decades and last until episode 100. To give you some sense of perspective, let's briefly return to Seleucus I for a comparison of lifespan. He was assassinated in 281 BCE, which we covered all the way back in episode 15. From memory, Seleucus I died at the age of 78. His great-great-grandson, Seleucus III, became king at about 18, let's say. If he'd lived as long as his founding ancestor, he could have reigned for about 60 years. That's a time span from 225 all the way until 165 BCE. And yet, here we are again anyway. Seleucus III was born as Prince Alexander, the eldest son of Seleucus II and his aunt wife Laodike II. He was born in about 243 BCE. He doesn't really feature in his father's reign, but we know he was with his father and brother when trouble erupted in Babylon in the mid-230s BCE. This trouble was discussed in the episode where Alexander's grandaunt Stratonike went into rebellion in Antioch, after Seleucus II turned her marriage proposal down. Alexander's younger brother Antiochus stayed in Babylon to quiet the situation down. A royal presence appears to have kept a lid on the simmering city. We know that little Alexander had several brothers and sisters. There was definitely his younger brother Antiochus, and there may have been a brother called something like Lysimachus who died young. There were also 2 sisters, one of whom was called Antiochus, and the other of whom we don't know anything about. His father died in December of 225 BCE, while preparing to take the fight against Attalus I of Pergamon. In the wake of Alexander's uncle Hyrax pushing his father out of Anatolia, the peninsula had descended into chaos. Attalus I had stepped into the vacuum left by the Seleucids and basically took over the Seleucid territories on the western side of the Taurus. Seleucus II appears to have been ready to challenge this. Still, now he was dead, having fallen off his horse. His son dutifully changed his name to Seleucus III upon his accession, thereby ruining the chance to have the first original name in about 80 years. He is described as being boisterous and not the man his father had been, but still with the determination. He took up preparations for the campaign his father had wanted to carry out. At the time, Egypt was a stronger power, but less of a concern to the Seleucids in the immediate sense. There was peace with Egypt, possibly arranged by the new king Seleucus, and Egypt was also wrapped up in a Greek power struggle involving Cleomenes III of Sparta. Macedon, under its new kings Antigonus III and the infant Philip V, was also involved. This involvement may have been with Seleucid approval. The long and the short of it is that Seleucus was off to fight Attalus. He'd also given his brother Antiochus imperial power in the eastern provinces, or else confirmed it, as we've seen previously with kings in generations gone by. Seleucus appears to have done well against Attalus, in the sense that he pushed into Phrygia, thereby making it deep into enemy territory. However, a plot broke out in his armies. The leaders appear to be Nicanor and Apatorius, a Macedonian and a Gaul respectively. However, we don't know why they plotted, possibly it was in connection with the trouble in Babylon, or who, if anyone, they were working with. That said, The end result of their plotting was that Seleucus III was killed, possibly by poison, in the summer of 223 BCE. At the time of his premature demise, he was roughly 20 years old. With that far from glowing review out of the way, let's turn to his 21st century epithet. This epithet is not quite as praising as Seleucus the Gifted or Antiochus the Colourful, nor is it quite so negative as Antiochus the Troubled or Seleucus the Beleaguered. Instead, I have gone for Seleucus the Ephemeral. The reason for this is that, put simply, he feels more like a brief hiccup than a rule. Granted, he died young and artificially so, but that doesn't take away from the fact there's not really much to say about him. I haven't looked up a precise dictionary definition here, but ephemeral is a word which to me has connotations of being short-lasting, and that's all I can really say about Seleucus. He's there and then gone again, like some sort of spirit. It's not a positive nickname, nor a bad one. His brevity is really all you can say about him. Had he lived longer, it's possible he might have done far better, as he seems to have already pushed into Attalus' territory by the time he died. However, that's the realm of speculation. In the real world, Seleucus the Ephemeral is gone. However, there is something that his death accomplishes, in one sense. He leaves behind him no children. This means that, for the first time since the founding of the kingdom in the late 300s, there is no father-to-son succession possible in the Seleucid Empire. 5 generations of Seleucids have succeeded one another father to son. Well, that's done now. The closest remaining heir is Antiochus, the younger brother currently sitting pretty in Babylon. Antiochus may be the next person we're naturally going to focus on, but he will not be the subject of next episode. This is because we have reached a very special milestone. Seleucus III died in 223 BCE. The man he shares a birth name with, Alexander the Great, died in 323 BCE. Put another way, we've reached 100 years since our story started, and to me, that's worthy of an attempt to recap what we've discussed so far. After that's out of the way, we'll move on to talk about Antiochus. Until then, thank you all for listening. Feel free to get in contact at the show's email address for any questions or comments. Until next time, have a great week, everyone.